Over there, send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the drums rum-tumming everywhere.
As Europe erupted into war in August of 1914, Franco-American relations were quite warm. Many Americans came to France voluntarily to become engaged in some way, and ultimately fly and fight for the French government and for French liberty.
Over there, send the word over there.
This memorial commemorates the lives of 68 American volunteers who flew in the French Air Service during World War I. They chose General Lafayette as their namesake, the French general who came to the United States and assisted us rebels with our Revolutionary War.
And we won't come back till it's over there.
My name is Raoul Lufbery III, and Major Raoul Lufbery was my great uncle. He aided in the war by being an outstanding pilot and had a lot of camaraderie with the other pilots within the Lafayette Escadrille. It was an organization set up to allow Americans to fight along Frenchmen to help to support the war effort.
Ici, nous nous trouvons dans le musée franco-américain de Bérancourt. C'est un musée qui a été créé à la fin de la Première Guerre mondiale pour commémorer l'aide apportée par les Américains aux Français. C'est donc un musée à la gloire de l'amitié franco-américaine. Il faut rappeler que les jeunes Américains ne pouvaient pas intégrer directement l'armée française, sinon ils auraient perdu leur nationalité américaine. La Légion étrangère française, ça a représenté un moyen pour des jeunes de venir se battre avec les Français.
As the French surged their forces for defense or for offensive operations, the Lafayette Escadrille moved around the battlefield. And in fact, they served on the front lines everywhere from the English Channel to the border with Switzerland. And the reason for their movement was purely tactical. They needed to be where the fight was happening.
Their main function was to shoot down enemy aircraft, period. Airplanes of the day were just brand new. You had to always be on guard for some failure of a piece of mechanical equipment on your plane. And of course, there were always enemy aircraft in the area looking to shoot you down.
Becoming an ace in World War I was a little bit controversial. It required 5 confirmed shootdowns. The difficulty in confirming shootdowns led to the official count being much lower than what was popularly conceived. It turns out the pilots had many more shootdowns than they were credited for.
On a donc la bouteille de la mort. Alors c'est une bouteille qui a une histoire. À chaque fois qu'un pilote abattait un ennemi, il avait le droit de boire un petit peu de cette bouteille et surtout de noter la date et de signer.
Within about a 14-month time, Major Lufbery became a triple ace, and by December of 1917, he had shot down 16 aircraft. He was fearless, and he became a worldwide media sensation.
Comme c'est une fierté d'être pilote de l'aviation, puis bon, il faut avouer que ça plaît beaucoup aux femmes, on va essayer d'avoir un uniforme assez joli. On va se faire broder des ailes d'aviateur sur le col pour montrer qu'on est aviateur. Et puis, on va un petit peu se faire voir.
Raoul was a bit different. Major Lufbery was a very quiet man and reserved man. He did not generally speak out much at all. So he was very much admired by the other pilots, though many of them would tell you they never knew the inner self of Major Lufbery. Major Lufbery was born in France in 1885. Unfortunately, his mother, Anne, passed away when he was only 15 months old. His father was Edward Lufbery, who was an American citizen. One thing that Raoul thoroughly enjoyed doing as a young boy was reading travel novels and adventure magazines. And I believe that had a strong influence on his globe-trotting years that came when he was a teenager and a young adult. Throughout his world travels, Major Lufbery did in excess of 30 different jobs. Some were as simple as a waiter, a baker, a railroad worker, and others were more unique and different, such as a customs agent, a Tiger expedition hunter assistant. In India in 1912, he saw his first airplane being flown by exhibition pilot from France, Mark Pope. And Raoul, due to his wide variety of experiences, had some mechanical abilities and skills. So he hooked up with Mark and became his mechanic. As part of their exhibition flying, Mark and Raoul probably became the very best friends. Raoul thoroughly enjoyed touring with him, thousands of people attending because they were all wishing to see their very first man-wing flight. I'm sure it was the highlight of both their lives. The war broke out in August of 1914, and both men felt it was important to support France in their war efforts against Germany. Because he was a French citizen, Mark was flying aerial reconnaissance for the French Air Service. He had a crash landing and was killed. Major Lufbery was devastated by his friend's loss, and he made a claim that he would fight for France, but he was really fighting to revenge his good friend Mark Pope's death.
What is the cheering, my little one? Oh, that my blinded eyes could see. Hasten, my boy, to the window run and see what's the noise.
One of the popular stories of the Lafayette Escadrille was one of the pilots returning home from a raid, encountered a German, or what he thought was a German aircraft. The pilots got a glimpse of each other and realized they were fighting a blue-on-blue fight, another friendly force. They decided to paint some kind of symbol on the side of their aircraft so that they could recognize each other from the air.
Ici, nous avons donc l'emblème de l'escadrille Lafayette. Il faut savoir que pendant la Première Guerre mondiale, on a demandé à toutes les unités militaires de se doter d'un emblème. Les armées alliées arrivaient avec des troupes de plus en plus nombreuses. On n'arrivait pas à les orienter dans les carrefours.
When crates of ammunition would arrive to the Lafayette Escadrille, it had the insignia of a Sioux war bonnet painted on the side. Pilots and the mechanics of this unit adopted that symbol as their unit logo and painted it on the side of their aircraft.
Johnny, get your gun, get your gun, get your gun. Take it on the run, on the run, on the run. Here's them.
April 1917, when the United States declared war, General Pershing began to flow the U.S. Army over to Europe. Many of the American volunteers in the Lafayette Escadrille enlisted in the U.S. Air Service and became the service's first commanders and standardization pilots. Lufbery was included in this.
People were fascinated with the war effort and even more fascinated with airplanes. Many considered fighting in the air a very glorious and admirable thing to do. They used to call them the Knights of the Air. It was a gift to the media to be able to have these 38 men and all their war efforts be printed and explained throughout the entire 4 years of the war. The day Major Lufbery met his demise in aerial combat was May 19, 1918. It so happened that a German reconnaissance plane was flying over. The pilots knew that that plane would go back with new information, photographs. Lufbery at that time had his plane out of commission, jumped into a fellow pilot's plane and headed off. It appears, not being Lufbery's plane, the gun jammed and the reconnaissance plane shot at Major Lufbery's plane. Major Lufbery unfortunately fell about 2,000 feet to the ground near the town of Meran, France, where he perished. Townspeople carried his body to the main village square and covered his body with flowers. He was then given a massive funeral procession. Thousands of officers and a number of generals from both the American side and the French side attended to wish him his final farewell. Major Lufbery rests at the Lafayette Escadrille Memorial just outside of Paris, France. It's a gorgeous monument with crypts below it. I have been over with my wife to visit the Major and these pilots. And they will remain there for eternity. That's their final resting place.
The members of the Lafayette Escadrille went on to join the U.S. Air Service, which later became the U.S. Army Air Corps, and ultimately became the U.S. Air Force. Today, our United States Air Force counts its origins with this squadron.
Pour les Français, il faut savoir qu'elle a continué d'exister et qui maintenant s'appelle la 2-4. C'est une escadrille de chasse française très réputée. Elle est très connue au sein de l'armée de l'air française. Donc c'est une escadrille qui est à la fois mythique pour les Américains, mais également pour les Français.
My father carried on the name and the tradition, and in turn, when my son was born, I named him Raoul Lufbery IV. We respect and wish to honor Major Raoul Lufbery, even 100 years after his passing. He is truly a family hero.
Across the sea, we're united in this fight for liberty. France sent us a soldier, brave Lafayette, whose great deeds and fame